What's happening, everybody? Monday, June 2nd, 2025. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning into Loud Majority Live. We got a big show for you guys today. Obviously, yesterday there was a horrific attack in Colorado where a lunatic, there's several ways to describe this guy, decided he was going to set a bunch of people on fire, particularly a bunch of Jews on fire in Colorado. As local authorities hesitate before calling it a terrorist attack, CNN goes out of their way to beclown themselves, as CNN is known to do. Also, Jerry Nadler has a staffer arrested for harboring illegal immigrants, which is pretty much the run-of-the-mill, the course Democrats have chosen to take over the last several months. Also, economic numbers continue to boom following President Trump's announcements. Wall Street tries to pull some nonsense about tacos. No one really knows what all the hell they're talking about. But remember, guys, they're on Wall Street, and they wouldn't be there if they didn't know what they were doing. They wouldn't be there if they weren't the best and the brightest among us. Guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We are rocking. We are rolling. Let's pop that live chat up on the screen. Hope everybody had let me turn that up. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I know I certainly did. Hopefully I got to see some of you at the Smithtown Street Fair. That was a hell of a time, as it always is. In Smithtown, it was a really good time out there, supporting all the good candidates out here on Long Island, all of the good ones, ignoring many of the bad ones, and believe me, there are bad ones. I'm talking about you. I won't even bother saying your name out there. Hopefully, you guys had a phenomenal weekend. Moose, what's happening? AC Knight, how are you? Jeanette, what's happening? Redneck, Caps, Tommy, Carol, Bob, what's happening, brother? Hope everybody had a good one. Hey, to let all the Patriots out there know that it's now being called Veterans Awareness Month. Absolutely. Everyone is slightly gayer today than they were on Friday, apparently. Although it is pretty funny how some corporations have decided that they are going to pull back. Pull the reins back a little bit on it. And apparently Walmart's done it, and it's really, really upset people. But I don't really care. Guys, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. Share the video out wherever it is you are watching from. Repost it. Tag your friends. Let's get these numbers up. Let's get the big number out today. So, obviously, the breaking news yesterday was the FBI has charged someone in the firebombing attack in Boulder, Colorado. This was a march by Jews in Boulder, Colorado, to release the hostages that are still being held hostage by Hamas. You know, those poor people in Gaza that I have to keep pretending to care about. I don't. I care about us. I care about this. I care about Americans. I also care when Americans, including one Holocaust survivor, are set on fire by some Egyptian national named, what's his name, guys? Is it Steve? Is it Brian? Was the firebomber in Boulder, Colorado named John? Was it Kevin? Was it Sean or Jeremy or Drew or Will? Was it Pete? Was it Hannah? No, of course, it was Muhammad. Shocker. No one should be shocked by that at all. Mohammed Sabri Suleiman, a 45-year-old suspect, this from the Post-Millennial, in the firebombing of a peaceful pro-Israel demonstration in Boulder, Colorado on Sunday, is reportedly an Egyptian national who was in the United States illegally and granted work authorization under the Biden administration. Right. You know, when this happened, I didn't know. You know, you wait for facts and you wait for information to come out. But, you know, if you've lived in the world for the last, 20 years or so, you pretty much knew you pretty much knew what happened. This is coming out from Bill Malugin on Fox News right now. New details about the Colorado terror attack suspect, as the FBI has charged him with a federal hate crime. According to federal court filings obtained by Fox News, the Egyptian illegal alien Mohammed Suleiman admitted in an interview he wanted to kill all the Zionists, which, go figure. Go figure with all the nonsense that's been spewing out over the last several months over the very concept of being Jewish. This shouldn't shock you. Here was a video of a shirtless illegal immigrant Egyptian man throwing fire on American Jews.
We're here, brother. We're here. We can't do nothing about that. We can't do nothing.
We can!
Not here.
You have to end Zionists!
Not here, bro.
You're not!
People are taking video right
You have to
now.
end Zionists!
He was wearing an orange suit with like something on his back.
Spraying alcohol,
Spraying
too.
alcohol, but what he did was he made it look like he was here.
He's making Molotov cocktails.
Palestine and for us,
Well, we can't do it when he's got Molotov cocktails on
if
him.
you are fighting, you have to
That's what he's got right here is Molotov
You're
cocktails.
thousands.
Alcohol.
They are killers!
Now, it's not to say that if you're going to make Molotov cocktails and throw them at people, whatever your cause may be, particularly if you're doing it shirtless, you've probably had some sort of break with reality. Now, fully acknowledge that. However, the lies and the nonsense that have been coming out over the last several months probably instigated the break that this man had with anything sane. But don't worry, guys. Don't worry. Because Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland is on the case. He's on it. And he knows. Jamie Raskin, congressman from Maryland, he knows exactly what's wrong and what caused this. Now, was it the virulent anti-Semitism that has been going on for the last several months, years in this country? No. Was it the Molotov cocktails in his hand? No. Was it the radical jihadism that has been taking over the world for the last several decades? No, it couldn't have been that. It definitely wasn't the fact that this guy overstayed a visa in a country that he shouldn't have been in the first damn place. No, it wasn't that. According to Congressman Jamie Raskin, what caused this was Americans' problem with gun violence.
We are still in the midst of a gun violence epidemic. So we need to be acting with due concern for human life. This is why, of course, we have been fighting for a universal violent criminal background check. We are for a ban on military-style assault weapons in the country. Our lax gun laws are a danger to everybody in America, and that's something that we can act with some legislative determination to turn around. But people have got to lead their lives, and people need to act with courage, but it is the responsibility of government to try to keep everybody safe from random arbitrary violence and bigotry and hate-motivated crimes.
Well, Jamie Raskin quickly rising up the ranks of dumbest person in America, blaming a firebombing on guns. Because if you're a Democrat, you never let a good crisis go to waste. You never let a good crisis go to waste. So naturally, I'll be honest with you, I'm shocked Jamie Raskin didn't go out there and blame Trump's big beautiful bill, or I don't know. That's just what they do. Democrats can find a way to blame everything on guns. They can weasel that in there, even if there was no firearm present at the time. Not a handgun, not a semi-automatic assault weapon, whatever the hell that is. A completely made-up term. Was it a shotgun? Hell, it wasn't even... it wasn't a paintball gun. It wasn't a BB gun, and nothing. But Jamie Raskin's got to find a way to shoehorn that in there somehow. Congratulations, Jamie Raskin. You are today's dumbass. You are today's dumbass. But we've got more dumbassery coming from the people over at CNN because, look, we went over it last week. The ratings for the big cable news networks are dying. And because they are dying, nobody wants to go on them anymore. And because nobody wants to go on them anymore, well, they're starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the intellect of some of their guests. Before we get to that, Old Glory Bank.
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is a full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching, un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, switching banks has never been easier. I did it. You guys should do it too. By heading on over to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. Look, these interest rates don't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. So lock in those rates, baby. It's not financial advice. I want to be very clear for the lawyers out there. But if I was going to give it, I would tell you to lock in a CD with Old Glory Bank. That's oldglorybank.com. So, you know, Jamie Raskin, obviously, early on in the show today, has won the dumbass of the day. But a close second, a very close second, would be whoever the hell this is. Oh, I don't know who this woman is. She will fade away into obscurity. Early on, the local police in this attack refused to call it a terrorist attack. Now, never mind the fact that it was an Egyptian national yelling "Free Palestine" while throwing Molotov cocktails at Jewish people. Kind of cut and dry. But local PD would not call it a terrorist attack. Here was the local PD early on in the investigation.
We're early in the investigation, but some details have emerged. I'm able to confirm there are 6 victims, ages 67 to 88. All of them have been transported to local hospitals. This attack happened at a regularly scheduled weekly peaceful event. Witnesses are reporting that the subject used a makeshift flamethrower and threw an incendiary device into the crowd. The suspect was heard to yell "Free Palestine" during the attack. The subject has been identified as Mohammed Sabri Solomon, and he's 45 years old. The FBI is processing the crime scene and the subject vehicle and interviewing key witnesses. We're assisting Boulder Police in providing technical, analytic, and additional forensic resources. As a result of these preliminary facts, it is clear that this is a targeted act of violence, and the FBI is investigating this as an act of terrorism.
The FBI is investigating this. Local PD decided that they weren't going to say it. Guys, we'll be back in a second. Carolyn Levitt is speaking outside of the White House. I'm sure she's speaking on this topic. Give me 2 seconds.
Caroline Levitt speaking right outside of the White House. Let's listen in.
That Donald Trump was waiting until the talks between Russia and Ukraine today in order to make a judgment on whether or not Vladimir Putin wanted peace. Those talks have happened. Where does he stand, and is he willing to impose additional sanctions?
I'll let the president speak on that himself.
Sure.
Today, the Russian and Ukrainian delegations met in Istanbul, but the Turkish president is suggesting that it's high time that leaders, President Erdogan, President Trump, President Putin, and President Zelensky meet in Istanbul. Is that something that President Trump would support, and would be partaking?
Well, the president has said he's open to it if it comes to that, but he wants both of these leaders and both sides to sit down at the table together. And we saw them do that at the urging of President Trump today. But as for how the president feels about those talks and what took place there, I'll let him speak on that.
What's the president's reaction to that Ukrainian drone attack, stunning drone attack on Russian air bases? I'm sure he saw that. What's his reaction?
Well, look, the reaction is this war needs to come to an end. And this war has been brutal from both sides. Too many people have died. And the president wants this war to end at the negotiating table. And he's made that very clear to both leaders, both publicly and privately.
Are the trade negotiations still ongoing after last week's pause? And how are the negotiations with the European Union to avoid that 50% tariff?
Well, the European Union came to the table thanks to President Trump's threat of tariffs. And now we are seeing that they are negotiating in good faith with our delegation. So we remain hopeful and optimistic that a deal can be struck with the European Union. As you know, we are in discussions with many other countries around the world as well who understand the need to cut a good deal with this president and the administration. And Secretary Bessent, Secretary Lutnick, Ambassador Greer continue to work around the clock on this.
These hacks are concerned. We saw the firebombing of the Pennsylvania governor's mansion, as well as what happened over at the museum here in Washington, and now this most recent attack. Is there concern in the administration that there could possibly be some sleeper cells here in the United States? What type of pattern is the administration looking at as far as terrorist cells for the United States?
Well, there's certainly a concern that the previous administration allowed way too many terrorists and illegal immigrants into the interior of our country. And that's why the Department of Homeland Security is working overtime to arrest, detain, and deport as many illegal criminals and terrorists that we can in the United States of America. And any act of violence will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Megan.
President Trump has talked about wanting to meet with President Xi for a long time. Kevin Hassett over the weekend previewed a possible conversation between the two of them, including possibly this week. Has that call been scheduled, and what is the president hoping to get out of that call with President Xi?
Well, sure. She asked about the potential call with President Xi. I can confirm that the two leaders will likely talk this week. And as always, when there are foreign leader calls, we will provide a readout of those calls. So we'll see you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline.
All righty, so that was Carolyn Levitt briefly speaking outside of the White House. Guys, keep it locked in here all day long. We bring you guys the breaking news as it comes in, as always. But back to what I was saying about the terror attack in Colorado yesterday. So CNN, doing their damnedest to absolutely and completely and utterly beclown themselves, said that it is irresponsible. It is irresponsible and juvenile to refer to this as a terrorist attack.
Police chief comes out and says, we don't have 2 + 2 = 4 yet. In other words, this is obviously an anti-Semitic attack, and the victims were obviously part of that group. Therefore, we're not calling it terrorism. It adds a lot of it's not good for the community. It's not good for the potentially targeted community. It makes law enforcement look disorganized, and it makes the FBI look so juvenile. Like, why are you getting ahead of the police chief who says, I don't know what this is? It sounds, maybe it is what we all think it is, but maybe it's not. And he has no incentive to get it wrong. So we're going to take a step back. Not be responsive to tweets by 2 heads of the FBI who don't have a long history in local law enforcement. And we will wait and hope it isn't what we all worry it is. And if it is, then there'll be an investigation. But that's like nothing I'd ever seen before. You normally, actually, Andrew knows this, you normally get the local people getting way ahead on motive and the FBI saying, we don't have it yet. You now have the opposite here. And until we know that the victims were members of that of the Jewish event, we don't have the nexus. And I will believe the Denver police chief that they do not have that nexus now. And if they do, I will be the first one out here saying that that is a hate crime. But until we do, we all need to not follow the FBI's tweets.
Okay, we've got still a lot of questions, a lot of information still coming in.
Ignore the FBI's tweets. Apparently, they have no I find that funny. Apparently, the deputy director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, has no experience in local law enforcement. That would be pretty weird for the guys he served with on the NYPD. Just putting it out there. Also, you know, I don't need to be a meteorologist to know if it's raining. I can just look out the window. But that woman, whoever the hell she is, hasn't been on TV yet coming out and saying it's a hate crime. Obviously, we've got to pump the brakes, guys, because we wouldn't want to get ahead of things on CNN. Like when John King said that 2 Saudi nationals were arrested for the Boston Marathon bombing before anyone had been. Or the Jussie Smollett case. Or the Covington Catholic case. Or how many other cases would you need? We don't want to get out ahead of this. And then, of course, you've got Andrew McCabe, the former head of the FBI, sitting there looking quite befuddled. Because even as bad as he is, he also does not need to be a meteorologist to know whether or not it's raining outside. Very obviously a terrorist attack. I'm very happy that the FBI plans on charging this guy with a hate crime. String him up quickly. Like President Trump says, quick trial. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that when an illegal immigrant overstayed his visa in the United States of America, he would soon face a federal death penalty? Oh, well, you know, now he'll just get to live out the next 25 years on death row with appeals after appeal after appeal after appeal. Probably watching Netflix for the next 25 years while we await the death sentence. Because that's just how we do things here in America. More details are, of course, emerging about this guy's past, basically hour by hour. But we'll get to that in 1 minute. Before we do that, here's Jeremy.
Hey everyone, I really hope you are enjoying the program today, and I hope you enjoy LFA TV as a whole, because let's face it, we're not getting any younger. However, if there was a way to slow down our aging and live a little bit longer, would we do it? I think we would. You ever heard of Fatty 15, folks? Well, Fatty 15 is a brand new supplement that has C15 in it. You might ask, what's C15? Well, C15 is the first fatty acid to be discovered in 90 years that actually prolongs your life. Over 100 studies over many years were done on dolphins because these 2 doctors were in charge of basically increasing the dolphin population. So they started introducing this fatty acid called C15, and what they found was something amazing. The dolphins were living longer, and the dolphin pods were growing bigger. It was an amazing discovery. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you can get C15 introduced into your life to slow down the aging process of your cells. And it's not only going to make you feel and you look younger, but it's going to make your body think it is younger, which means you're going to start doing more things again. There's a thing called cellular fragility syndrome. And cellular fragility syndrome happens as we get older. This is going to reverse it, folks. Fatty15.com/LFA, promo code LFA. That is fatty15.com/LFA, promo code LFA. Get your discount today, folks, and start this new journey to help you live longer. Fatty15.com/LFA, promo code LFA today. Now, back to the program. Thank you very much.
So this Egyptian immigrant who overstayed his visa, we're getting more and more information about him. Obviously, he was yelling Free Palestine. I can't imagine which ideology that has to do with. But it turns out he came into the United States on a temporary work visa and then overstayed it. Here was Fox News late last night.
And Paul, you have talked tonight quite a lot about wanting to know about who this individual is, what about his travel, what about his background. And we can break to our viewers now, per 3 senior DHS and ICE sources to Fox, according to our colleague Bill Maluzhan doing some great work, that he is an Egyptian national who is in the U.S. illegally because of a visa overstay who came during the Biden administration. Mohammed Sabri Solomon first flew into the U.S., according to these three sources of the DHS and ICE, flew into the U.S. on August of 2022 at LAX. He was authorized to stay through 2023, but never left. A little bit of more details coming into this, but you were very interested to learn as much as you can about Solomon's background.
Yeah, and, so obviously one of the talking points is going to be the fact that he would not have been here and should not have been here if we were actually enforcing our immigration laws. I think for the purposes of the investigation now and the prosecution and what charges are brought, et cetera, what they're going to be particularly interested in is any of the contacts that he had back home. He's here now. It's about 3 years. So any conversations he had back then may or may not be pertinent. But was he reaching back home? Was he in contact with bad elements overseas? These are the things that those U.S. attorneys that spoke at the press conference and the DA, they're going to be looking at very hard so they can figure which way to go with this investigation. And look, this guy's going to be heavily charged. In a way, it almost doesn't matter. He's going to be heavily charged. He's going to be locked up for life. What we really need to do is to look at why it happened, how it happened. Those are the things that are really more important. And actually, some of them are outside the purview of investigators and the police. And the fact that we have the stuff going on these campuses and that the administrations, whether it's Columbia or Harvard or any of them, seem to just shrug. These are the things that I think as a society, more importantly, we have to be looking at.
And officials saying that this cannot happen, will not happen. Again, Paul Mauro, former NYPD inspector and Fox contributor. Paul, thank you for your insights.
Now, of course, authorities want to say this can't happen again and it won't happen again, but there's nothing they're going to do to stop it. Nothing the authorities in Boulder, Colorado are going to do to stop it. They're not going to begin teaching actual history in colleges. No. They will just continue to fan the flames. But Kevin, what are you talking about? It's just one guy. It's just one guy, a crazy person, an absolute nut. Crazy is going to do what crazy's going to do. It's not like you have another example of this radical ideology attempting to kill Jewish people, except for this one. Here we go. This just breaking today. Muslim man pleaded guilty to firearms charges after planning to kill Jewish preschoolers at a Michigan synagogue. I don't know. I have a question. How do I word this? How many apples have to be bad on the tree before maybe the problem is with the tree? I don't know. A Muslim man in Dearborn, Michigan, shout out to Rashida Tlaib, that's her district, has pleaded guilty to federal gun charges after threatening to kill Jewish preschoolers at a Michigan synagogue. Hassan Kroc, whatever, 37, entered a plea of guilty in federal court for being in a felony possession of a firearm. The charges stem from a December 2022 incident in which he handled multiple firearms at a Dearborn gun store just hours after aggressively confronting Jewish parents and their preschool children outside of the Bloomfield Hills Synagogue. According to federal prosecutors, Kroc, drove through the synagogue parking lot shouting profanities and hostile comments about Israel as families arrived for preschool drop-off. After being ordered to leave the premises, he traveled to a nearby gun store where he armed himself with a 12-gauge shotgun, a 5.56 rifle, and a 9mm Glock. Witnesses reported that he pointed the firearms and then pulled the trigger while in the store. He attempted to purchase all three firearms, falsely stating on a background check form that he had never been convicted of a felony. In reality, he had a prior felony conviction, which made it illegal for him to possess firearms. During the transaction, he reportedly made disturbing comments, including threats to, quote, even the score, and references to carrying out God's wrath. Right. I'm not sure how many apples have to be bad before maybe there's something wrong with the tree. I don't know. Could just be me. But hey, what do I know? I'm a bad person. What do I know? I'm just, I've got some sort of, I don't know, phobolistic or whatever, what did Bongino used to say? An istaphobe, where they just throw something at the end of it and expect any of us care. I'm not Islamophobic. I want them to stop killing people in America. That'd be great. That would be great. You know what else would be great? If you guys headed on over to loudmajorityusa.com, signed up for the newsletter, and checked out our shop, because that is the best way to support this program and all the good stuff we've got going on over here. Let me make this a little bit smaller for you guys real quick. Let's make that a little smaller. Guys, head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. Let's go through some of the stuff. The fast shipping section. Where is that? Oh, yeah. The fast shipping section is packed. Packed, baby, with all the good stuff. Guys, loudmajorityusa.com. Also, guys, do me a favor, and if you wouldn't mind, we really do appreciate the support from all the people who donate to the Loud Majority. Go to the loudmajorityusa.com, click that donate button. $5, $10 a month, whatever you guys can afford. We really do appreciate it to keep the movement going strong. Also, local viewers. For my local viewers, I'm jacked up. For my national viewers, you're going to have to hear this for the next 5 days. This Saturday is the Save the Chief Festival at Massapequa High School. You guys know that I talked about it last week or a couple weeks ago. President Trump standing with the Massapequa Chiefs. Absolutely great. Linda McMahon went there the other day. So currently right now, Governor Kathy Hochul, governor, I don't know how to draw on my eyebrows, is telling Massapequa High School, one of our local schools, it's literally, I don't know, 4 miles down the road, is telling one of our local schools that if they do not change the name of their mascot, that they're going to lose all of their state funding. And if there's one thing you people around the country should know about the town of Massapequa, is that when you tell them to do something they don't want to do, they have no problem telling you to go ahead and shut the up. No problem with that whatsoever. So we are there. There's a foundation out there called the Save the Chief Foundation. I'm a proud sponsor of the event. I'm super happy to be a part of it. We'll be down there doing a massive voter registration drive at Massapequa High School this Saturday on the 7th. I'm going to make a special video about that to put it out later on in the week. That is going to be spectacular. Giddy up. Let's go. Giddy up, let's go. Finally, people are starting to fight back against the tyranny of the Democratic Party, and all I got to say is, oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah. So that is the local news right there. Giddy up, let's go. Caps, I'll see you there. I'll see all my local viewers in Massapequa. So moving on. Back to New York Democratic tyranny. There's a very fat man in Congress. His name is Jerry Nadler. He likes to wear his belt somewhere slightly below his breast. Well, he had a staffer detained. You ready for this? For harboring rioters. This is one of the most wild stories ever. From the post-millennial, a staffer for Rep. Jerry Nadler was detained by federal law enforcement inside of the congressman's Manhattan office earlier this week. Nadler then accusing the Trump administration of using government force to intimidate his political opponents, which is wild. This incident occurred on Wednesday in Nadler's office and involved officers of the Department of Homeland Security. According to video obtained by The Gothamist, one female aide was handcuffed in the hallway by agents while another staffer attempted to block their entry into a private area of the office. The agents claimed they were responding to reports that protesters were being sheltered inside. What the hell's going on here? One agent in the video can be heard saying, "We have the right to check if you're harboring rioters in here." The staffer eventually allowed the officers back into the room following the tense exchange. Homeland Security officials said the officers were conducting a security check after reports of suspicious activity by nearby demonstrators. Based on earlier incidents at a nearby facility, Officers were concerned about the safety of federal employees in the office and went to the location to ensure their safety and well-being. The department added that the aide who was detained became verbally confrontational and physically blocked access to the office. No one is above the law. Naturally, Jerry Nadler went on CNN and complained about it.
Congressman, you have a situation you're also dealing with.
Look at this frumpy man. Where is his neck? Like, if you look at Brooke Baldwin, not at Kate Baldwin here, and then you look at Jerry Nadler, he's missing an entire body part. Where is his neck?
That I wanted to ask you about, of course. I'm going to play the video that we have obtained for our viewers while I describe the situation. This happened last week. Federal officers with DHS were seen going into your district office in New York. They handcuffed and detained one of your aides for a period of time. And according to DHS in the statement that they put out, it says that the agents entered because they were told protesters were in your office and that they were concerned for the safety of your staff. When they arrived, the quote from DHS is, one individual became verbally confrontational and physically blocked access to the office. And the person was detained so the officers could conduct their check and then were released. What is your view of what happened?
Well, my view of what happened is outrageous. My first concern was for the safety of my staff member, and I didn't say anything. I decided to speak out after the DHS released their misleading and frankly lying story about what happened. DHS was upset that some of my staff members were watching them grab immigrants emerging from an immigration court in the same building a floor below. And they were upset that my staff invited some of the observers up to my office. They then came up to the office and demanded entrance. One of my staff members said, "You can't come in here, you need a warrant." They said, "No, we don't need a warrant," which is incorrect. And they barged in, and in barging in, one of the officers, a very big, heavy-set fellow, pushed my aide, a very petite young woman, and they then said that she pushed back, and they shackled her and took her downstairs. And she was obviously traumatized. Now, the fact is that this was totally unacceptable. The tactics were totally unacceptable, and they needed the warrant. And my office is a congressional office. It's a completely separate branch of government, a co-equal branch of government with the executive for which they work. And they had no right to come in. They had no right to disregard the co-equal branch of government, which is to say, Congress. So I am demanding.
It has nothing to do with your co-equal branch of government, Jerry. Your office is in the courthouse. Your office is in the courthouse where illegal immigrants were being detained. And why were they being detained? Well, it turns out in sanctuary cities like New York, judges, as we've seen in Wisconsin, are harboring illegal immigrants who are set to be deported. Your staff didn't like that, so they hid the illegal immigrants in your office. Then federal officers went to go get them. I don't need, if someone has just robbed a bank or if they robbed a car and then they pulled into a driveway and they got out of the car and ran into somebody's house, you don't need a warrant then to go into the house. You have probable cause. But Jerry Nadler, with his aggressively emotional language, she was shackled. She was handcuffed. Shackled. Makes it things like she's in leg irons. A very petite woman. And a very large man. First off, Jerry Nadler calling anybody large is hilarious considering he's shaped like the Penguin from Batman. But this has been a new tactic of ICE agents. No problem with it whatsoever. No problem at all. Wait outside the courthouse, and when illegal immigrants get denied their protected status or whatever it is they may be in search of. You just grab me and take them, you go. Why? Because you're in the country illegally. This comes on the heels of one of the largest ICE raids so far in the state of Massachusetts, a sanctuary state, which is wild. We should make a sanctuary state on guns. We should make a sanctuary state on all the things I like. Then I'll end up moving there. Over 1,100 people were wrapped up in this ICE raid in Massachusetts over the weekend.
Removal or deportation. Tell us more.
No, and Dana, it was a great operation, and the fact that it was over the course of a month really shows the commitment of the men and women of ICE here in Massachusetts and all over New England. And we took a whole-of-government approach. We used all of our partners to include diplomatic security, the U.S. Marshal Service, ATF, FBI, DEA, to really locate and arrest these criminal aliens. One highlight for this operation is the fact that it was successful because we worked with our joint partners in a sanctuary state like Massachusetts, where it's extremely difficult. Where we had Operation Tidal Wave last month in Florida, there was a week-long operation working with our state partners. That's a state that cooperates with us. Here in Massachusetts, we don't have any cooperation from the local departments or from the state, which makes it extremely difficult for ICE to get out there and find these bad guys.
One of the things is, obviously, you arrested a lot of people, but the Democratic governor, Maura Healey, is focused on one person. It's an 18-year-old. Local media up there in Massachusetts says his name is Marcelio Gomez, apparently 18. And she wrote this, I'm demanding immediate answers from ICE about the arrest of a Milford High School student yesterday, where he is and how his due process is being protected. The Trump administration continues to create fear in our communities, and it's making us all less safe. Apparently, he is 18 and helping with the volleyball team there. What can you tell us about this case and his whereabouts?
Well, I can tell you the fact that he is an overstay, much like the individual that we were just talking about in Colorado. One of his parents, his father, was the target of the operation. He was driving the fatherless vehicle. And ICE, like any other law enforcement agency, if we encounter someone that is here illegally or has violated the law, like this young gentleman did, then we're going to take action. But what I'd say to the governor is, does she ask every police department when they lawfully arrest an 18-year-old what's going on with them? I think what she needs to do is let the federal government focus on what we're doing and get these people who have overstayed their visa and violate immigration law out of our country.
It's a good point. Maybe we'll have a chance to ask her that very question ourselves.
I doubt it, Dana Perino. I doubt it. But guys, he helped out with the volleyball team, so he has to stay. I don't know. Last time I checked, 18-year-olds are adults. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, and maybe I'm saying it wrong. I don't know. I could be wrong. What do you guys think? Should he stay because he helped out with the volleyball team? First off, how much help does a volleyball team actually need? I would say, not a lot, but whatever. I would say they probably don't need a lot. But as normal, the federal government whips up 1,100 people. Many of them have overstayed their visas. And then Democrats focus on the one. I'm sure if he was 21, they would buy him margaritas. They focus on the one. I don't know. What percentage is that? 1 out of 1,100. Let's see. Let's do a little bit of math as we rock, as we roll here. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see here. 1,100 times 1. Yep. Sounds like some pretty good numbers to me. Guys, as we get rocking, as we get rolling here, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. I want to welcome everybody back in. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Do me a favor and head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad. For all things LFA-TV related, check out the LFA-TV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming a monthly donor over at lfatv.us. LFATV.us. That's the best way to support this network and everything we've got going on over here. Giddy up. Let's go. I'm liking it. What's happening, Gina Marie? How are you, Bear Paul? How are you, Tim Huff? What's happening? Chris Caulfield, Bill Cycle. What's happening? Yeah, let's see. What do we got? Somebody did the math for me. 0.00001%. Sounds like pretty good odds to me. Right now, I would take that. I tell you what, if Jalen Brunson, you know what? That is the one I am. That's what Jalen Brunson shot in Game 6 right there. That's what those numbers are. Guys, do me a favor once again. Hit the thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. So, unfortunately, Trump's big, beautiful bill is in a little bit of trouble. Trump's big, beautiful bill in a bit of trouble, as Rand Paul says that there are 4 senators who are already a no vote, which is a loss. He stated yesterday that at least 4 Republicans are currently opposed to Donald Trump's tax bill and spending legislation. Paul, who has voiced concern about the bill's potential impact on the national debt, emphasized that he supports the tax cuts included in the proposal, but warned he cannot support it as written because it will add to the debt. Said there's 4 of us at this point, and I'd be very surprised if this bill, at least not modified in a good direction, he said to CBS News. Paul indicated that he would be willing to vote for the legislation if the provision raising the debt ceiling was removed. He did not name the other 3 senators, but if I had to roll the dice, I would say it's probably Murkowski, Collins, and McConnell. Because Mitch McConnell, even though he's basically dead, is doing everything he can to thwart the Trump administration. Others who have signaled potential issues are Ron Johnson, Rick Scott, Mike Lee, and Josh Hawley. Look, I want to be clear. Love President Trump. I like 85% of the bill. There's no doubt it adds to the debt. It just does. We spend more than we take in. There's no doubt about that. It's simple math. Where that money comes from, though, is important. Is it going to be an infusion back into the economy? No tax on tips, no tax on overtime with a Social Security deduction. Is it going to be an infusion from things like the SALT cat deduction, which I have railed against numerous times? Is it going to blow out the deficit by adding more money to the Pentagon, which is ridiculous? Is utterly and completely ridiculous. Yes, it does. But with all that being said, the American people seem to like where the country is going. As James Carville once famously wrote for Bill Clinton, it's the economy, stupid. And Americans are more favorable of the economy right now than they ever have been before. And even CNN's got to admit it.
There's 4 months of the Donald Trump presidency that you expect that Democrats would have this massive lead on the economy. It ain't so. It ain't so. The party that is closest to your economic views, in November of 2023, it was the Republicans by 11 points. Now it's still within that range, still within that margin of error, plus 8-point advantage for the Republican Party. How is that possible, Democrats? How is that possible after all the recession fears, after the stock market's been doing all of this, after all the tariffs that Americans are against, and Republicans still hold an 8-point lead on the economy? Are you kidding me?
This is new CNN polling.
Yes.
How is that, when we look for trends, how is that trending with other data that you're pulling in?
Yeah, if it was just this one CNN poll, that would be one thing. But take a look at Reuters Ipsos. What do we see here? Party with a better economic plan. Well, in May of 2024, just before Donald Trump was reelected president, Republicans had a 9-point advantage. Look at where we are now in May of 2025. The advantage actually went up by 3 points. Now Republicans have a 12-point advantage when it comes to the party with a better economic plan. And again, this is after months of supposed economic uncertainty in which the stock market's been going bonkers, in which the tariff wars that Americans are against have been going on. And yet, despite all of that, the Democrats are down by 12 points on the economy. This speaks to Democratic problems on the economy better than basically anything that you could possibly look at. The Republicans still hold an advantage on the all-important key issue of the day, and that is the reason why, even if Donald Trump's approval ratings are a little bit lower than they used to be, Republicans are not out of the ballgame because they still have a clear advantage on the economy, whether you look at CNN's polls or whether you look at the Ipsos poll right here, in which they have a 12-point advantage on the economy, Kate.
And also in the CNN data, it does show that Republicans are gaining ground in an area that is key relating to all of this, which is when it comes to the middle class.
Yeah. You know, historically speaking, which is the party of the middle class has been a huge advantage for Democrats. I have polling from NBC going all the way back since 1989 when Democrats had a 23-point advantage. 2016, a 17-point advantage. But by this decade, we already started seeing declines back in 2022 where you saw that Democrats led, but only by 4 points, well within the margin of error. And now in our latest CNN poll among registered voters, which is the party of the middle class, it is tied. This, I think, speaks to Democratic ills more than anything else. They have traditionally been the party of the middle class. No more. Donald Trump and the Republican Party have taken that mantle away, and now a key advantage for Democrats historically has gone adios amigos, and now there is no party that is the party of the middle class. Republicans have completely closed the gap, Kate.
All right. There's a lot of messages and a lot to be learned from these numbers and this data. It's good to see you, Harry.
Nice
Thank
to
you
see
so
Kate.
much. Still ahead for us, an athlete takes home...
Democrats are in so much trouble because, look, if elections do come down to the economy, and many people believe that's all they come down to, if it comes down to that, Republicans are continuing to win. But the stat that I find more interesting at the end of that is that Republicans are now the party of the middle class, despite all of the nonsense and the psychobabble about tax cuts for the rich. They're going to give tax cuts to the millionaires and to the billionaires. Got to do the hands. The millionaires, the billionaires. Turns out, most Americans support it. Most Americans support the tariffs. Most Americans support the big, beautiful bill. The only people who don't are the people who wear makeup on television. Why? Because they're going to see their bottom line affected. And I got news for you. I don't care. I don't care if the people on CNBC are freaking out. I really don't. Because guess what? They didn't care when they used our money to bet against the stock market and to bet against the housing market, and then we ended up bailing them out. They didn't care. So why should we care about them now? Americans know that their lives are significantly worse than they once were, and they like that Donald Trump is a change agent who's at least trying something different. I'm not saying all this is going to work. I believe that it will, but time will tell. It is time for elected Republicans to understand that there are not 80 million Republican votes. There are 80 million MAGA votes. And if you're not on board, get the hell out of the way. Now, look, there are some people out there like Senator Paul, who I'm a huge fan of Rand Paul, loved his father. He's voting against the big, beautiful bill for ideological reasons. He says he wants more spending cuts. I agree. I absolutely agree. But what I'm trying to say is, for the people that aren't voting against this on principle, for the people that are doing it, voting against it to vote against Trump, you're going to be in some serious trouble. And many of you have got upcoming races that in 2026 that you might want to check out. You might want to get on board with before you get cast aside. Before we get to that, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 6-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com and use promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. So some senators, Susan Collins in particular, should really think about how she wants to vote on this bill. Because, 2026 is just around the corner, and many of these senators are going to face stiff re-election bids, and Susan Collins is absolutely one of them. Many people are eyeing for Susan Collins' seat, as I think that they should. She is up in 2026. Another member of the Republican Senate who is up is Thom Tillis, who has also not been a friend of President Trump. Now, we will see what all happens with the Senate races, because I think that there are at least 2 Senate races that could very easily be picked up by Republicans if we're willing to put a little bit of work in. And of course, that would be the Senate race in Georgia. Jon Ossoff, who is considered the most vulnerable Democrat on the Senate map, and Republicans have been eagerly awaiting a chance to take his seat. But they were barely a quarter of the way into the cycle when Republicans got their big piece of bad recruitment news, as Brian Kemp has decided he is not going to run for it. I personally think that that's a great idea. Some other people in the field would be Representative Buddy Carter in Georgia, Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I would say my pick for that would be Representative Mike Collins of Georgia. I'm a huge fan of Mike. He's a great guy, if you guys haven't gotten a chance to meet him. I will say, Mike Collins, he is the slowest talker you've ever heard in your entire life. I've never met anybody who speaks slower in my entire life, and as a New Yorker, that just drives me nuts. Another place where Republicans could pick up a big seat is in Michigan. Senator Gary Peters is retiring, leaving that seat completely open. Will the progressives and the neoliberals basically beat themselves up in this race? We shall see. But I would say there's probably a good chance of that happening. Guys, I don't want to start talking about the midterms too soon, but look, they're right around the corner, and it's going to be up to us to do the sort of activism we need to get the job done. Guys, Will Johnson is coming up next here on LFA TV. Make sure you guys keep it locked in here for all of the breaking news all the live long day here, rumble.com/LFA TV. Guys, go to loudmajorityusa.com. Check out all the sales. Use promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off. I will catch you all back live tomorrow. Until then, everybody, stay loud.